Picture this. You're in a room filled with casual conversation, polite nods, safe opinions, nothing that stirs the air. Then, someone speaks, and what they say doesn't just challenge an idea, it cuts through every illusion in the room. Suddenly, eyes shift, discomfort spreads. Why? Because intelligence that exposes truth isn't welcomed, it's feared. And as Arthur Schopenhauer saw more than 2 centuries ago, this fear runs deeper than you might think. Part 1. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Highly intelligent people don't frighten society simply because they know more. They frighten society because they force others to confront what they'd rather not see. Schopenhauer understood this better than most. He wrote about the world of appearances, a fragile reality people construct to shield themselves from uncomfortable truths. A world built on unspoken agreements, where polite lies are preferred over inconvenient realities, where maintaining harmony matters more than seeking truth, where questioning those shared illusions is seen as a threat, not a virtue. But the truly intelligent, they can't help but see through it all. They notice when words don't match actions, when entire belief systems are built on shaky ground, when the collective story society tells itself simply doesn't hold up to scrutiny. They ask the questions that no one dares to speak aloud. Why do we work jobs we hate to buy things we don't need? Why do we measure success by status instead of meaning? Why do we cling to comforting lies, even when the truth is within reach? And for a society built on shared illusions, that kind of clarity is dangerous. Part 2. Think about the last time you saw someone question the status quo in public. Not with anger, not with arrogance, but with a quiet, unsettling kind of truth. Did you notice how the mood in the room changed? How conversations stalled? How people glance at each other, unsure of what to say next? How someone quickly shifted the topic back to something safe, something everyone could agree on? That reaction is ancient. It's an instinct buried deep in human nature, the reflex to preserve harmony, even at the cost of truth. Schopenhauer saw this clearly. He wrote about how most people would rather live inside comforting stories than face the uncertainty that comes with seeing the world as it really is. Because when someone speaks a truth that pierces those stories, it does more than challenge a single idea. It shakes the foundation of a person's identity. It's one thing to disagree about a fact. It's something very different when that disagreement forces you to question your own life, your choices, your values. Why do we work jobs we hate just to survive? Why do we chase approval instead of authenticity? Why do we measure success by possessions and not by purpose? And when intelligence forces us to confront those questions, the natural response is fear. Because if the answers are uncomfortable, if the life we've built is based on illusions, then what happens next? What else might we be wrong about? And what would we have to change? That is why intelligence, true intelligence, often provokes discomfort instead of admiration. Not because it's wrong, but because it dares to reveal what others would rather keep hidden. Part 3. There's another layer to this fear, and it runs deeper than most realize. Society isn't just afraid of intelligence. It's afraid of what intelligence might change. You see, the world runs on unspoken agreements, silent contracts that keep the machinery of daily life moving. We agree that this piece of paper has value, so we call it money. We agree that certain lines on a map define nations, so we call them borders. We agree that climbing a corporate ladder means success, that buying the right house, the right car, the right clothes means status, that following the rules, even when they make no sense, makes you a good citizen. But here's the truth. These agreements are fragile. They exist only because enough people agree to believe in them. And when someone begins to question those beliefs, when someone says, "Why do we spend our lives chasing things that don't fulfill us? Why do we value appearances over substance? Why do we fear those who think differently?" Cracks begin to form, because if those questions are valid, if our agreements are built on shaky foundations, then what does that say about the years we've invested in living by them? What does it say about the sacrifices made, the opportunities missed, the dreams abandoned, all to pursue a script we never wrote for ourselves? That kind of realization is terrifying. And so, rather than confront the discomfort, society rejects the questioner. It labels them a troublemaker, an elitist, an outsider, someone who thinks too much, feels too deeply, speaks too plainly. Not because their questions are wrong, but because those questions demand change. And change threatens the comfort of those who are too invested in the old way of things. Part 4. There's another reason why intelligence unsettles people, and it's more personal. Because when an intelligent person speaks, when they notice what others overlook, when they quietly expose a truth others would rather ignore, it makes people feel exposed. Most of us spend our lives curating an image, a version of ourselves we present to the world. We project confidence, even when we doubt ourselves. We display competence, even when we feel uncertain. We adopt the values of the group, even when they conflict with our own. We learn what to say, and what not to say, to fit in. It's not deception. It's survival. It's what we've been taught. Blend in. Don't stand out. Avoid making others uncomfortable. But intelligent minds, the truly perceptive ones, are natural pattern seekers. They notice when something doesn't add up. They detect the subtle dissonance between word and action, between appearance and reality. They see through the cracks in the mask. And when they speak, calmly, clearly, without pretense, they reveal those cracks to everyone. That's when the room goes quiet. That's when people look away, shift in their seats, check their phones, because suddenly, the game of appearances has been interrupted. And no one likes feeling exposed. It's an unbearable kind of vulnerability, to be seen too clearly, in ways you didn't intend, in ways you may not even fully see yourself. And so the reflex is to protect, to deflect, to criticize. They're too intense. They're too critical. They're too negative. They think they're better than everyone else. But beneath all of that lies something much simpler: the fear of being truly seen. Part 5. But there's another dimension to this fear. One even more subtle. It's not just the fear of being seen. It's the fear of what being seen forces us to confront. Because when an intelligent person speaks truths that cut through illusion, when their insights reveal cracks in the comfortable stories we tell, it doesn't just challenge the world, it challenges us. Because if they are right, if the things we've long believed are false or incomplete, then what does that say about us, about our choices, about our values, about the lives we've built around those beliefs? That is why intelligence so often provokes defensiveness. It's not just what intelligent people know, it's what their knowing represents. The possibility that we've spent years, maybe decades, pursuing things that don't truly matter, that we've accepted mediocrity in place of meaning, that we've followed scripts that never fit us because it was easier than asking the hard questions, that we've settled for comfort instead of truth. And the deeper that realization cuts, the stronger the resistance becomes, because to face those questions would mean confronting regret, owning mistakes, acknowledging the gap between the life we live and the life we might have lived. And so, rather than face those questions, society punishes the questioner, not always with open hostility, but with distance, with dismissal, with quiet exclusion. The intelligent person finds themselves misunderstood, left out of conversations, quietly avoided, not because they have caused harm, but because their very presence makes others uncomfortable. A mirror reflecting the path not taken, a reminder of who they might have been if they had dared to ask different questions. Part 6. And yet, despite all this resistance, there is a rare courage in true intelligence. The courage to stand alone, to see what others avoid, to ask the questions no one else will ask, to speak truths that make others uncomfortable. It is not an easy path, because an intelligent mind quickly sees that truth rarely wins popularity contests, that comfortable illusions will always attract more followers than uncomfortable insights, that most people will choose pleasant lies over difficult truths again and again. And yet, it speaks, not to provoke, not to elevate itself, not to seem superior, but because it must. Because once the mind has seen clearly, there is no unseeing. Because once a question has formed, it cannot be silenced, because to pretend otherwise would be a betrayal of the self. Schopenhauer admired this kind of mind, not for its intellect alone, but for its strength. The moral courage to remain authentic in a world that rewards conformity, to stand in truth, even when the cost is misunderstanding, even when the price is loneliness. But society often misreads this courage. It sees independence as arrogance. It mistakes conviction for superiority. It interprets solitude as rejection. And so the cycle deepens. Misunderstanding breeds isolation. Isolation breeds more misunderstanding. Yet through it all, the intelligent person persists. Not because it is easy, not because they seek conflict, but because some things matter more than approval. Truth matters more than comfort. Integrity matters more than acceptance. Because to live otherwise would be to live inauthentically. And for the truly intelligent mind, that is the one thing it cannot do. Part 7. And this is where the true value of intelligence lies, even if society often fails to see it. Because intelligent minds do more than question. They illuminate. They reveal what others cannot or will not see. They speak the truths that, though uncomfortable, are necessary for any real progress. They are the quiet conscience of the world, a voice that whispers, "There is more than this. We can be more than this." Without them, society stagnates. Illusions harden into dogma. Comfort turns into complacency. Mediocrity becomes the norm. It is the intelligent few, those willing to think differently, who keep the door to progress open, who ask the hard questions not to tear the world down, but to build it up, to evolve it, to move it closer to truth, though their insights may be rejected in their time, though they may face dismissal, isolation, or even hostility. History remembers every breakthrough in philosophy, in science, in art, in human understanding began with a question that others were afraid to ask. It is the minds that saw further, that dared to challenge what was accepted, that refused to settle for shallow answers. These are the minds that moved humanity forward. And even when their voices are ignored in the moment, their truths endure. Part 8. And what does this mean for you? If you are someone who thinks deeply, who questions boldly, who sees things others miss, understand this: your intelligence is not a flaw. It is not a burden to be hidden. It is not a defect that needs fixing. Society's discomfort says more about society than it does about you. You were never meant to fit perfectly into a world built on shallow expectations. You were never meant to silence your mind just to make others comfortable. You were never meant to shrink yourself to avoid standing out. You do not need to silence your questions. You do not need to hide your insights. You do not need to dull your curiosity or your voice. There are others like you, though you may not see them yet. Others who value depth, who welcome truth, who seek meaning over approval, who would rather be authentic than accepted. And in time, you will find them. Because those who seek truth eventually find each other. And when you do, you will no longer feel the need to apologize for seeing clearly. You will no longer feel alone in your hunger for deeper understanding. You will know there is strength in thinking deeply. There is courage in questioning. And there is great value, even when unrecognized, in refusing to settle for easy answers. Part 9. Schopenhauer understood this well. He lived it, misunderstood, dismissed, ignored in his time. His writings challenged the comfortable myths of human nature. He exposed the unconscious forces that shape our actions. He questioned the illusions of free will, of romantic love, of human rationality. And for that, he was pushed to the margins. His masterwork, The World as Will and Representation, sold few copies. The academic world dismissed him. Society ignored him because his truths were too uncomfortable, too raw, too honest for a world not yet ready to hear them. But time proved him right. His insights laid the groundwork for modern psychology. His ideas influenced Freud, Jung, and generations of thinkers after them. What society once rejected became the foundation for future understanding. And the same is true for every voice that dares to challenge illusion. Galileo, Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, Van Gogh. Every artist, philosopher, scientist who spoke truths the world wasn't ready to face. In time, truth endures, and those who dare to speak it shape the world to come. And so will you, in your own way. Your intelligence, your questions, your refusal to accept easy answers, they will serve a purpose greater than you know. Even if misunderstood today, even if met with resistance, even if your voice feels small in a world that prefers noise over depth. Know this, in time, truth endures, and those brave enough to speak it leave their mark on the world. So if this resonated with you, if you felt the weight of seeing what others refuse to see, remember this: your mind is not the problem. The fear of intelligence is. Don't dim your light to make others comfortable. Don't trade depth for acceptance. And don't stop asking the questions that need to be asked. Because while the world may resist uncomfortable truths today, it will one day depend on them. And those who carry that light quietly, persistently, are the ones who shape what comes next. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more Stoic wisdom. See you in the next video.